Hi guys.
Hey, it's week 4.
Halfway through week
Very
4.
like halfway through week 4. Our
Yeah.
lives are so busy. We just don't have time to do them on the weekends anymore. But as long as we're doing one a week, that's what we're trying for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Our ambition is one a week. Okay, so
yeah,
while we've been gone, I finished a book.
yay!
Like this one,
Meanwhile, me.
it's okay. You've been writing and editing a lot. Like you've been editing
Yeah,
for two separate clients and writing in your own book and updating like
two
the
books.
chapter app stuff and like you've got
Yeah,
your workload is full. Okay.
yeah. And so in my free time, all I want to do is game because it's just like
Yeah, I
it's
get
not
that.
reading.
I get that.
You know, because
Yeah.
writing is reading adjacent. So
Yeah,
all right, so you finished Harry Potter.
yeah. So,
That's
honestly,
what, book 4, book 5?
5. So there's two
5,
more.
okay.
Two more, and then The Cursed Child, which some people were really kind of hating on it, but I'm really interested because I love books that are written in script kind of format or like play script style format. Like I have a Star Wars book about Dooku that was written like that.
Maybe
That
I've
was
seen
really
that
good. I think
before.
it's in the closet. I don't think I have it out right now, but like
Same.
it was really
Same over
good.
here.
It was so like well, I'm running out of room. That's the problem.
Right.
And I don't have
You need
anywhere
more
else to
bookshelves.
put a third bookshelf because my
Yeah.
piano is there, my chair is there, the lamp is over there, and the bookshelf over here would look weird. So I haven't quite
Yeah.
figured out how this is going to work. But I could move the lamp and put a
Mm-hmm.
bookshelf there. I don't know. Anyway, but that's for future me to worry about. Um,
Yeah.
this felt like a really emotional book. Some things happened.
You had a lot of emotions.
Oh my god, I wasn't expecting the end. Okay, one.
I don't.
Okay, when I read books, I feel really strong. I feel strong emotions when I read books. So the fact that Harry was angry, was struggling with his anger issues through this entire book almost. I think partly it's because he was feeling Voldemort's anger too. I think that's a lot of it. But he was struggling with his anger and was struggling to keep his cool. And me as a teacher, watching, like me as the teacher myself, watching Umbridge go in and judge these teachers when she has no experience in the classroom whatsoever. And she just
Yeah.
randomly decides to come in and teach, but she has been a secretary. And it's like, granted, school secretaries are the best in the world, but she's not a school secretary. She's the secretary for a government official. And
It's a completely different job.
yeah, she's never had to be in like direct contact with children before, and it's just like having them sit in silence and read a book is not teaching. And it's just there's so many my own personal issues that I had with her outside of the fact that she's just a horrid person in general. But but like, and then on top of that, I wasn't expecting. Okay, spoiler alert. I guess it's an old book, so you should have known by now.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting Sirius to die in this book.
Oh, so you didn't know about that? I thought he did, but I couldn't
I
remember.
okay. I've
I've
seen
only
I've
the
seen a
movies, like,
clip. I've seen a clip of Harry crying over his body from the movie. I've seen that at some point, but it wasn't in the forefront of my mind. I was expecting it to happen like in the last book, because I know there's a big battle at the end.
Oh.
I was expecting it to be sometime then. I kind of picked up on the fact that Voldemort was leading Harry on to make him believe that Sirius was there. I wasn't expecting the nasty house elf to be in on it.
Mhm.
And then like literally there's times like at the very end, one of the things that like I don't know, it just touched me so much because when Petunia and Vernon are picking up um Harry at the end of the year, like Moody, Mr. and Mrs. Weasley, like they're talking to um to his aunt and uncle, and there's like and Tonks is there too, The point is, if we find out you're being horrible to Harry, and make no mistake, we will hear about it," said Lupin pleasantly. "Yes," Mr. Woolley says, "even if we don't, if you won't let Harry use the telephone." He says telephone wrong. He says fellyphone, fellytone. It was funny. It cracked me up. But it was like, there's one part where it's like, they essentially, it's like, I don't know. It was just, they were there, like, it was just, he was hurting so much more than he'd ever hurt before, and the fact that they were there, I'm gonna get emotional. This is insane. But it's like, the fact that they made the point of, like, acknowledging that they were being abusive to him, and being like, this is not going to happen anymore. We will know about it if you continue to do this. And it's like, so many, it's such an emotionally driven book, like, no joke. And I'm not gonna lie, I loved the scenes with Harry and Snape, and I wanted more of those. And it's like, we got the clip of, Harry saw the memory, Snape's memory that he always took out and put in the pensive, and he didn't want Harry to see. And it was the part where Harry's dad, James, Lupin, and Sirius were, like, bullying him just because. And then Snape goes back at him, and they're, like, fighting, and Snape calls Lily a mudblood, like, that whole scene. And it's like, and it made me go back and think about the whole movie drama. And I figured that that's what you were talking about when you had mentioned not wanting to mention a spoiler. But it's like,
if he is black, then the bullying
it's going to turn
them and not just Snape.
Yeah, like they literally they hated each other. They hated each other. That's not, like, race was never an issue there. They hated each other. They both liked the same girl. That was the problem. I think a lot of it, they both liked Lily. And they were both fighting for Lily's, like, I don't think Snape was really fighting for her attention. I'm assuming, I don't know a whole lot, and I'm hoping that we'll get more of Snape in the next book, which I think we might, because it's called The Half-Blood Prince, and if I remember my spoiler correctly, that's referencing him at some point, I think, maybe. I don't know. I have an assortment of spoilers that just kind of shuffle in my head from Harry Potter. But
that's funny.
Yeah. Some of them are angsty spoilers that I wish I didn't know about, but I do. Like character deaths and such. But, you know. Anyway.
Yeah.
I digress.
Alright, so me. I'm still reading The Songbird and the Hearthstone.
It looked like you had made decent progress from the first, like, it looked like you were on, like, 40, 50, page 50, 40 something.
I'm on page 50. Yeah, I'm on page 50. I was on page 49 yesterday. So I'm making progress. I did hit a point where it was really good, and that's when I went from, like, page 10 or 20 to, like, 50, so I read, like, 30 pages that night. So honestly, like, I wasn't into it at first, and then I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3, and for those of you who don't know, it's a video game like D&D, and there's a vampire character in there named Astarion, and I got into his backstory, and the vampire backstory made me want to read this kind of style of book again, and that's when I read a bunch, and I was interested in the Star's character, and I like him, and I'm interested in him, and so that's when I read a bunch. And then I got to when they go off, like, her and a star, I can't remember where they are, they're somewhere, his estate place or wherever he lives, that weird house, and it's kind of bringing in necromancy, and I just immediately stopped, because I don't mind if anybody reads necromancy, like, I don't judge people, but everybody has those genres that just aren't their thing, that just, that gives you the heebie-jeebies, and you just can't get past it for whatever reason. And for me, necromancy is a big no-no. Like, I try to stay away from it in books and games and stuff, like, if I can. Like, you can't always stay away from it, like, in some cases. But I just, for some reason, I have no real reason. It's just this irrational, I just don't like reading or anything to do with necromancy.
Yeah.
And I don't, it seems like it's going to be a huge focus of the book, and add that to the fact that I don't care about Misha's character. I just don't want to finish this book. So I don't know, and I'm not in a reading mood, so all of this compounded together is just working against me. I like the Star's character. I really want to know what's going on with him. I just don't know if I can push through for him because of the necromancy and then because of Mish. Like, she comes off as really whiny. Like, in the first couple books, she made a good friend and side character, especially in the first book, because she was really, like, smiley and happy, and she was always, like, she had this really fun dynamic with Rain. Like, I really loved her platonic friendship with Rain, because honestly, you don't see a lot of, like, platonic friendships with guys and girls in books. And so Mish and Rain's I can't say that. Mish and Rain's friendship in book 1 was so good. And then in this one, when it's from her perspective, I get everything that she's been through. And it's like, but it's like, okay, your God rejected you. Like, he doesn't deserve your time and attention if he's going to be treating you this way. So just get over it. Like, I don't know. She just comes off as so whiny. And then she's confused because, like, of the shadow vampires have these weird mind powers. So it's kind of like, but yeah, I don't know. The necromancy, if it was like in this scene and then it never comes up again, that would be one thing. But based on the blurb, they're gonna go to the underworld, and so it has a lot of gods, goddesses, death, like necromancy, undead, going to the underworld. Like, that's not my thing. Like, a lot of people are huge fans of that, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, my husband is big on, like, Greek mythology. That's my husband's thing. He loves that kind of stuff. It's just not one that really, like, I just can't get past that to, like, get into the plot and the main character.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I don't know what to do. I'm basically forcing myself to read a page or two at nighttime to keep up my reading streak, so I'm reading at least one every day. I'm really interested in Haymitch's games, Sunrise on the Reaping. For some reason, I can never remember the title of this book. I'm really interested in it, and I feel like Hunger Games is kind of back to, like, old school vibes of, like, what I used to love. And, like, if anything can get me back into reading again, I'm hoping it would be that. So I'm thinking about not really DNFing this book, but just putting it aside and not. I'm still gonna, like.
I'm just gonna be honest. If underworld stuff's not your thing, then you're probably not gonna like the book because that's the main setting of the story.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. So I don't know. I was thinking about putting it aside and, like, trying to get back to it at some point because I love Carissa Broadbent and I love this series, and I wish that these middle two books were good. And I don't know. Mish didn't come off as main character material, and I just didn't care about her, so I didn't know she was going to be the next girl. And that started me off kind of in the wrong headspace. And then on top of that, she's whiny. And then we have necromancy and the underworld, and the only thing I'm interested in is the guy character. And it's just really, like, it's working against me so hard. But I'm not in a reading mood, and that's ultimately my main, like, I fell out of reading because of Crown of Midnight, the first half, but the ending was so good, so I kind of, like, got into that, and I binge read, like, hundreds of pages for the ending of it. But, and then after that, I tried that romantic suspense that wasn't as good as I thought it was, and I'm tried this one, which wasn't what I thought it was, and so the disappointments have just led me to get in this reading slump where I just don't want to read books. And I don't want to get back in that because for me, like, I've really enjoyed this podcast. I've enjoyed talking about books. I love reading again and being a reader and, like, getting excited for releases. And I was really into Quicksilver, and that was, like, and then before that, Onyx Storm. And so I don't want to get back into that reading slump where I don't read books anymore, but I just don't want to read books anymore. And nothing sounds appealing to me right now. And I need to find that book that's going to get me back to reading, and I don't know what book that's gonna be. You know what I mean? So that's me. And part of me is afraid of trying this because I don't want to have another circumstance where I try this book and then I end up not getting into it at the first couple chapters, and then I'm DNFing this one too. Because I've been anticipating this one so much that I'm like, I'm trying to choose the next book carefully to be something that I know for a fact will get me back into reading so that I'll be excited to read. But with that in mind, I don't know exactly what to do. So, if anybody out there has advice about getting yourself out of reading slumps, let me know, because I could really use that right now. But it could also be, like you said earlier, I'm editing for 2 different clients, I'm writing 2 different books, I'm editing my own book, I'm posting on the chapters app for a writing contest, it's chaos. Maybe I just don't feel like reading because I'm doing too much reading in my work time. And so, it could be that, too. It may not be, like, a reading slump. So. But that's where my head's at. Okay. Sadly. Not good news.
Yeah. So, okay, my main article, and I'm sure you'll get it figured out eventually, or something will come along that you're really interested in. One thing I would say, Carissa Broadbent, what it seems like her pattern with the series is that she takes a side character from the first two books, makes the next two books about the main character, makes that character the main character. And so from what I understand, the next chunk of books it's probably going to follow the same path, where like it's going to pick a side character from these two books and makes the next one about them. And there's a handful of characters I could pick out from this book that it could possibly be about. There's one of the novella there's a novella that she re-released on paper back, like on actual like physical book, that I want to see if Target has it, because I think it just released here recently. That is like a novella. It's like takes place in between. I forget the order. I'll have to look at Goodreads, but it takes place before the one that you're reading right now. It takes place before that. So, and apparently it includes some characters that are in this series, I guess, or show up in the series or something. I don't know. But it looks like it's a full novel rather than just like a short novella. So makes me kind of interested too.
Wasn't that something the Vampire Conqueror Slayer?
Something Vampire Slayer. Something. Yeah, let me look.
Yeah, something like that. Conquering the Vampire Slayer, or maybe.
Let's see.
That would be an interesting one to read, because that may get my head back into this headspace or something. Since it's about a different character.
I'm struggling. There, I just need the series tag. It's called Slaying the Vampire Conqueror.
I did Conquering the Vampire Slayer, so I was close. I had the two.
You were close. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thought that just occurred to me. You remember how with the Court of Silver Flames, I went into that missing Feyre and Rhysand, being mad, hating Nesta, and I had to wait like several months. I think it was almost like several months to a year later.
I think you just need to wait.
That actually is what started our Bookish thing.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that may be the same
I think you just need to wait. Yeah. It sounds very similar. I think you just need to wait and give it some time. Like, although if you're not big on the necromancy, I don't remember, was like I don't know. I never really, because when I think of I don't know. Underworld type stuff is a common theme throughout the book, so I don't know if waiting will help on that sense. But it might help with the characters and make it more bearable. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, see, if the characters I love, then I could ignore the setting.
And the thing with Mishi, really, really the thing about Mishi is that more of her story is revealed as the book goes along. So it's like her full story is not revealed right away. Like there's other like flashbacks that you get from her time, and it's like it's one of those things like she wasn't. Like, anyway, I don't want to reveal stuff just in the chance that, like, eventually you'll read it. But, yeah, her full story is not revealed right away. And so I can see how she would seem very whiny at the start. Yeah. She seems like a moper. She's a moper at the beginning. She's like a hopeless, like, she's like hoping for this, like, hopeless reality that's never going to happen. Like she's moping and longing. Yes.
It's like a girl who pines over an ex-boyfriend who doesn't want her anymore, and she just needs to let him go. And I have no patience for that sort of thing.
It's like that.
Get over it.
Yeah.
It doesn't deserve
it's like that, but I think it was more. Yeah, it's hard to explain without giving spoilers away, but the relationship she had with this god, I think at least from her end, was more than just a boyfriend romance, I think.
Well, I wasn't getting that. I was just comparing
Okay.
it like a metaphorically.
Oh, okay. It was a
It's
different type of
explained that she was
relationship,
like
but
devoted to him from like a young age, so it's like a
mm-hmm.
priestess to God kind of
Yeah,
relationship.
yeah,
I was just
yeah.
meaning that like metaphorically, it comes off as a whiny teenager pining
Mm-hmm.
over a boy who doesn't like her,
It's like it's
and
one
it
of
just
those
comes
things.
off that
I
way,
think
but like a religious
yeah.
version of that.
It's like she's longing for the past, but there's no way she can ever go back to that. And that's where, and I can see how that would come off as very whiny, especially at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's all she can think
Well,
about.
it also feels like it's kind of like it reminds me of that quote where it says how quote it whether it's true or not I don't know, but like how some of the happiest people are the saddest inside, or something like that. The happiest people outwardly are the saddest inside. And it's like she was such this happy-go-lucky, and you could tell in those books with Rain she was faking it, like there was something wrong and there was some deep grief that she had. But at the same time, outwardly, because of where she is and what they're doing to her, she doesn't have that I'm acting happy. And so it just leaves her like this whiny mopey chick that I can barely stand. And then you add in the necromancy and I'm like, yep, I can't do this. It feels like pulling my teeth out just to get through a page, and reading shouldn't feel like that. And I do like Asar, and I'm really like, I want to know why he needs her, and I'm wondering what he's doing and what the task is that Axia gave him, and where the scars came from, and I don't know if he's cursed or something, but so I have a lot of questions that I do want answered, so I really hope I can ignore some of the things I don't like and get into it. But I mean, I can't, it's not like you have any control over your brain and your opinions when you read something. Like sometimes that is completely out of your control. But my only concern about this one though is I don't know if it's going to be like more YA, and I'm not into YA, and given my reading slump, it's not going to take much for me to pick up another book.
That's what I did some Googling, and it at least the AI search helper on Google said it was marked as a young adult. So
right. I just don't know if it's going to feel that way, because Hunger Games didn't feel that way at the time. It was very like above its time. Like it was about kids, but it was very serious.
But to be fair, we were YA at the time. So it's like we were kind of in the middle of that genre at the time.
Yeah. So I'm just worried about reading it and then not getting into it because of XYZ, or it's YA, or they come off as teenagers because that's what they are, and then DNFing this book just because of that. And so I'm like, should I find another book that is more exactly what I want? Would pick. But then I look at my bookshelf and I'm not seeing anything.
You could always try some of those books. You could always try one of the books that keeps appearing on your TBR list for the month, but you never end up reading. Like like something. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the main thing that I had to talk about, there is an author from Australia, and I can't say her name very well, but her real name is Lauren Teslin something. I can't say her name. I'm probably butchering her name. But she was recently arrested. Her book went viral on TikTok, and that's what initiated her being arrested. Because in her book, I'm going to try to say this in a way that's kind as possible. The book is called Daddy's Little Toy. That's the book title. And I'm just going to read this article title. Erotic fiction author arrested over disturbing pedophilia book featuring an adult's perverted thoughts about 3-year-old. So this guy has been this guy has been pining over this girl since she was 3 in the book. And he gets with her when she turns 18. And get this, I also saw a video that apparently it was written under a pen name. And they did some digging and they figured out who wrote it. And it turns out she was charged with possessing child abuse material. You don't mess with children, even in the writing sense. Yeah. And I saw a glimpse at the synopsis on the back, and it just made me half sick. So, and she posted up, Tori Woods is what her name was under, what it was written under, because she used a pen name for it, because a previous book, so get this, a book that she wrote under her real name, was accused of plagiarism. So people are saying that she was writing under a pen name to try to avoid to get cleared of like the plagiarism issue.
Oh,
And she writes
gosh.
an erotica book about a guy and a 3-year-old.
Why does that even come into your mind?
I don't know. And like, somebody said,
one thing is you're writing a crime novel and you're portraying that as the victim, as the perp that like cops are going after, but that's not how the context of what she had. It sounds like it was like
disgusting. And like in her apology, she brings up people. There's 3 innocent people who have been caught in the crossfire that need to be stopped. There's like 3 people that did the book cover, someone that did the graphics, the cover designer, graphics, and the editor. And in her apology, she claims that they didn't see the final cut of the book or whatever. And I'm like, okay, you as a reader, you as an editor, if you even slightly suspected that something like this was going on, wouldn't you be super concerned? As an editor, if you saw somebody, it's like I don't care that innocent. You can't.
Anything in the book that comes off as wrong, I make a note and I'm on the side like, hey, this is this. You may want to consider changing this because of this XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've never had a situation like that, but I assume if I did, I would say something. That is crazy.
And I've never
the editor, and I don't buy what kind of graphic designer did you have. Like I'm wondering what kind of scenes she had the designer make for the book. That's what is concerning me too.
The cover is made out of the little kid blocks that have the letters on them. Mm-hmm. The title is made out of blocks like that.
That's just
so disturbing. It makes me mad.
Well, it looks more like a kid's book instead of erotic.
It's pale pink, and the title is written with the blocks, and it's like pastel blue, yellow, and green and pink blocks.
Like erotica covers are always dark, like black.
It's not.
And red.
It's the exact opposite. It is the exact opposite. And I have
prison.
I will never read this. I will never look at this actual book. But from what I've heard people on TikTok say, apparently there's some kind of like dedication in the front. Some people are claiming that she mentions her kids in the dedication. I don't, before it was like changed, I guess. I don't know.
God help those kids. Like, and I'm not like.
She's arrested now. She's been arrested.
Good. Where did the idea come from? That's my question. Because, see, from a writer's standpoint, it's even more disturbing because we all know you put a part of yourself into your stories. And that doesn't mean that, like, your villains are all like you. But, like, even some of my villain characters have aspects of me in them that are just, like, you know what I mean? And so it's not to say that we're villains or anything.
No.
But, like, to come up with dark ideas, sometimes you have to face the facts that, like, those are ideas that come out of your mind as the author. And so your inspiration came from somewhere. So either she saw another book or a movie or a situation like this that she liked and wanted to write herself, or she experienced it when she was a kid, or her kids are currently going through it with her husband. And that's the concerning part for me, is like, what's going on with her kids? Why did she write this idea? How did she come up with the idea for this book, and why?
So what apparent, like the main premise, it says that Christian charity marketing executive Lauren whatever, I can't say her last name. I don't know how to pronounce it, and I have no brain power left in the day to figure out.
You can just call her Lauren.
Lauren. She wrote who writes erotic fiction under the pen name Tori Woods. So her pen name's Tori Woods for her erotica books. Caused an online furor following the release of her latest novel, which outlines the relationship between an 18-year-old and her father's friend. So it's her father's friend, and she's 18, but it outlines their relationship, and you can see, and from what people are saying. Readers say that the book, whose cover features children's building blocks, the man speaks about how he has desired the teen since she was 3 years old. I'm like you, how does that even become a thought in your head of a potential book to write?
I don't understand. Like, even if you did the taboo thing of, okay, I'm in love with my father's friend, because that's a taboo genre in and of itself.
Yeah, yeah.
And you had him come in and be like, oh, you're 18 now. You're a pretty young woman and you've grown into yourself. That's still disturbing.
Yeah.
Much less if you take it the step further that she did off the deep end over there,
Yeah.
where you don't need to go. Like, it just.
I don't get it.
And the Christian charity
Yeah.
person who writes erotica under, like, that statement should not exist anyway. No offense, but, like,
Yeah.
hot take, if you're a Christian, you probably shouldn't be writing erotica anyway, even the non-taboo erotica genres.
Yeah.
Much less the taboo ones. Like, that's even worse. Oh my god. Well, at least she's arrested now.
It says, that's what it says. It says Christian charity marketing exclusive. But I don't know what, I've never heard, I don't know if that's a company or if that's like a description. Like, I don't know.
Wow. Well, that's insane to me. But, well, one of my things that I was going to talk about was a situation that actually happened to me personally, not an article. Yeah. So, I don't know if we've talked about this on this channel, because we've talked about it personally a lot, so my brain is getting mixed up.
Yeah.
But for those of you who don't know, basically Mark Zuckerberg approved his company to pull books from a pirated website to train their AI. So all of the books that he approved were books that were pirated and listed on this site that pirates books. And and he had statements that said that it was cheaper. They didn't want to have to buy the copyright that it would take to buy those books. Yeah. And that's why he had them pirated. And even though they're like $1 trillion company. And so you and another author friend found my books on there. So I have 3 books that are on that pirating website that have been stolen. Shifter and Assassin and Samurai are the 3 that have been stolen. Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of research with like the Authors Guild, and I never thought I would have my books pirated, but here we are. It's been happening more and more lately. And they, like, a lot of what I'm trying to do is, like, with the Authors Guild, they're trying to help out people. I don't know how much they cost, and I can't afford anything right now, and that's why it hurts, like, indie authors like me, because we can't afford a legal team to just go out and sue these people or get the rights back or make sure that our books get taken down. But there is a class action lawsuit against either Meta or Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know which one, so it's like allegedly, and don't quote me on this, but there's a class action lawsuit against that. And it's done by a bunch of authors, including George R. R. Martin and some of those rich ones who can afford it. And if you are an author who has a pirated book that has been stolen and used by them to train their AI, you are automatically a part of this class action lawsuit, and you don't need to do anything. They do have, the Authors Guild has like a template you can fill out that's like a letter you can write to Meta, like, hey, don't use my books, this is wrong, I'm upset that you did this. And also, people are saying if you're an author, you need to add into your copyright page, do not use for AI training or something to that effect on your copyright pages now, which means I have to go through my backlist and add that to all of my copyright pages. I'm going to do it only to the ebooks. I feel like the paperbacks and hardbacks on my backlist, but every copyright page from this point forward for my ebooks and paperbacks and hardbacks will have that little clause in there, because apparently we're at that stage of humanity. So, but I've cut AI out of because I used to use it for like the research purposes, because sometimes it's easier to figure out specific questions that Google won't know the answer to. Like, if my characters are in a van trapped in Alaska and they have half a tank of gas, how much gas is it going to take them before they find a ranger station at XYZ? Like, it's really specific to my story, and I can't just Google that. And so it's easier to just ask ChatGPT for little things like that, you know? But I have been just cutting it out entirely, because it's like it just bothers me, and I've gone through the stages of grief. I started off with denial that this can't be real, and then I went into just anger, and now I'm just like, okay, it happened. So but So that's been my legal stuff going on in the background.
Yeah.
Don't really know what else to do with it, but it's crazy.
Not
It's still
much
kind of
else you
hard to
can do
believe
at
that
this
it's
point.
happening.
And those legal things
Yeah.
take ages to figure out. So it's like,
Yeah, it's supposed to be happening. The case is happening this summer. And then other people are like, how did it happen? And some people are worried that Kindle Unlimited is actually how our books are getting pirated so easy, because it's been happening to more and more authors lately, where their books are showing up on sites and then they get canceled from Kindle Unlimited because they're not supposed to have it anywhere else, but they didn't control that their book is somewhere else. And
see,
and they're wondering if
that
it's
brings up the
happening because of
question,
you.
is Kindle Unlimited really worth the risk? That's the question.
I mean, I don't have the Valiant series on there because I sell them from my website and I couldn't do that. So the only books that are on there is the Calamity's Hope series. So my books got pirated even though they weren't on there.
Yeah.
So for me, that's not how it happened.
Yeah.
But I did have them on Wattpad an age ago. And I've been pretty careless with the Valiant series when I was first publishing, just putting it here and putting it there and trying to get the word out. So it kind of makes sense why it's happened. I'd be interested to see the pirated version and like what version of these books are actually out there.
Yeah.
So my brain wants to get a hold of my pirated book somehow, but like you can just see the book is listed. You can't actually go in there and access it. I don't know how to. I wouldn't want to do that to anybody else, but I just wanted to know what version do you actually have.
Yeah.
Because I've had a lot of versions of these books here. You know.
Yeah. You've looked on them for how many years? Like, there's a lot of versions.
Yeah. Like 2013, 2012, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you count the first time I wrote Mortal, which we don't need to talk about that. Oh, that was so long ago.
Yeah.
The old version of Mortal is just horrible. But the other one that I had was this fun little article that is completely useless for what it writes, but the infographic is what's fun. There is this study that did... I can't remember. It doesn't have any information on the study. But basically there was this study that did the most popular book genre in each U.S. state. And so this is fascinating, but also for authors, it can like kind of be okay, this may be what I need to kind of delve into. So it has history, mystery, family, fantasy, poetry, fiction, and romance. So it's not very like specific. Obviously the top genre across the whole U.S. is romance. Romance has sold 39 million copies, so it's the biggest genre. So Oregon, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana, Georgia, Florida, Virginia, and New York are all romance. So those are the ones that have romance.
Like if you look at if you think of like the romance section in Barnes and Noble, it's huge. Like, which makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Also Connecticut and Maryland. I forgot they had the little tiny ones on the East Coast. So the fiction ones were Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, Arkansas, Alabama, and West Virginia. Actually, they have the numbers here. Thank you. That's so basically 22 states out of 50 had romance. 9 states had fiction. 9 states also had poetry. 6 states had fantasy, so I was surprised that fantasy was like mid.
Yeah.
But hey, go fantasy. 3 states had family, and 1 state had mystery, and 1 state had history. Cool. So I'd be interested to see how sci-fi fits into it, but they didn't do specific genre, so I just kind of found that fascinating.
Yeah,
it's like,
cool.
If you're an author and you want to sell money and you want to actually sell books, my biggest suggestion is to start writing in romance, because it's the biggest genre right now.
Yeah.
One of the romance subgenres. So I just kind of found that little fascinating.
Yeah. For sure.
So. But yeah, so how is your guys' reading going? Let us know what you're reading, what you're anticipating, and if you're reading anything.
Yeah.
So is your next read going to be Sunrise on the Reaping?
Yeah, for you? I haven't been able to get very far into it yet. Right off the bat, there's one character that's literally the cutest thing so far, and I'm like, knowing how it ends up, I'm just like, this is not gonna be fun. But yeah, I'm interested in it. I know a lot of people were griping.
He mentioned POV.
Yeah, but he's young.
Okay, how old is he?
16. His birthday is at the beginning of the. He's 16 at the beginning of the book. Okay. It's his birthday.
They're written more like adults, I can go with it, especially because in this world,
Yeah.
They grow up really fast because of the Hunger Games.
Yeah,
so I'm hoping I can get into it.
His birthday is on Reaping Day, because it mentions that at the very beginning. So, like, first page. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So it says he just turned 16. So that gives you an idea of age range. But again, kids are in this universe, kids are forced to grow up very quickly. So it's like, and considering what we know of Haymitch's games already, and being like, spoiler alert, but it's really not, because it's in the other books. So if you read the other books, it's like twice as many tributes, I think, is what they said in, was it Catching Fire? It was like twice. So it was like two men and two women.
Wasn't it the last quarter tell?
Yeah, it was the 50th.
Yeah. So, I'm wondering if I could get into it, because one, nostalgia stake, like Hunger Games was a big influence on my life, like you mentioned that before too.
Yeah.
And two, because we've anticipated it. Three, because it's Haymitch and I like his character, and it's a guy main character, which I gravitate towards more anyway. And it's gonna be pretty action packed, I assume, like Hunger Games version of action packed. So I'm wondering if I could get into it for that reason.
Couple last minute thoughts about this. One, I when I bought my first original three were hardbacks, and so it's like when I love that Scholastic is able to appreciate keeping the spine, the cover designs the same, regardless of how much time has passed in between books. Like, especially the hardcovers look so nice. They look nice and crisp.
Nice.
And it looks good. Also, I saw an interview with Josh Hutcherson, and he said he would be open to playing Peeta again, and he's curious about the time after Mockingjay, like in between the end of Mockingjay and the epilogue, where they have kids. He wants to know about that chunk of time and how they got to that point. And I'm like, okay, Suzanne, are you taking notes here? Because that would be, I would love that. Adult Katniss and adult Peeta.
I was never a Peeta fan, and I don't like Josh Hutcherson as Peeta. When I was going from the books to the movie adaptations, I didn't like the way that he looked, so I haven't quite gotten past that yet. It was one of those, he doesn't match the character in my head.
But
I was always a pro.
But it's like, I would be interesting. That one or Finique. I would like Finique's games as well. If you could get on Suzanne Collins, if you could get on that would be fantastic. I want Finique. I want the first Quarter Quell. I want some more from like the early games, because I want to see the progression of how the games go from like what they are in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes to, like, I want to see that progression of how it changes, because the way they treat the tributes in that book is very different than how they treat the tributes with Katniss and Peeta.
Yeah.
Very different. And I want to know the progression of how they get to that point. But Finique is also, like, his story is really sad as well. And I want that, obviously.
I remember it being pretty sad. I don't remember the details, but it's been so long. But
I want that.
I remember loving Finnick, though. Mm-hmm. I like his actor in the movies. I think Finnick's actor did a good job.
I would also... I honestly wouldn't mind a character from their kids' perspective. I wouldn't mind that either. Because, like, I could...
plot would be, because everything ended up okay. Like, the capital's gone, so the plot line... It's why it's like, I don't know if a plot line about adult Katniss and Peeta would be interesting, because there'd be no villain, there'd be no plot. It would just be like...
Fair. Unless it's one of those
main couple that is like their aftermath, their life,
their
happy life together.
And this is where this could be kind of... I don't know. This could be on the verge of being repetitive, and I could almost see it being one of those things like in real life where, like, the citizens tend to forget. They get to the point where they're starting to forget what the games were like, and so the Capitol tries to turn again. I could see that being a thing, but at the same time, you would run the risk of it being repetitive.
You'd have to change up the plot line where, like, the Capitol does something differently, and so Katniss and Peeta's kid has to face a different kind of threat.
Yes, and that's what I'm thinking, but I don't know how... But then at the same time, it's like, I don't know if I don't know.
Then it wouldn't be the same. Yeah.
It wouldn't be the Hunger Games, either.
Yeah. It's like that's why when we started doing the Hunger Games writing competitions, it was like we just kept going back and back and back and just making up our own, because the concept of the Hunger Games is like Survivor but like dangerous, and that's what always it's intrigued me long before the Hunger Games.
There's like
and now you've seen for like the first Crowns of Naxia book, my brain just completely forgot the title. Like that one, and one of the other books we've read, there's been a couple books that we've read that have that dangerous arena kind of vibe that have been such an iconic, like, exciting plot to do in the fantasy genre and the sci-fi genre.
But
I mean, it goes back to Rome, ancient Rome with the gladiators. That's essentially what the gladiator arena was. So it's like, you know, the Colosseum and all that. So it's like, it's always exciting.
And I'm just really enjoying, like, these, like, pre-Hunger Games books. You know what I'm saying? Like, origin-style books. I'm enjoying that at the moment from her. Or at least I enjoyed the last one. The last one was really kind of, like, it brought a lot more to Snow's character. And it's, like, just seeing that he's never been a good guy. And it's like inside, even like when you get inside his head, he's not a good guy. He's not a genuine guy. And it's like, it was just really interesting to get, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, that one definitely didn't really feel very, like, it didn't feel very young adultish. It felt more like more mature in a sense. And it's like, I like how these, I don't know, the series is young adult, but it's never felt young adult, and it's just
it never has.
But it's been a hot minute since I've actually read the Hunger Games, so but
I have this version of Catching Fire that's like some random early arc copy that shouldn't exist or whatever.
But it's like but it's been so long that it's like I've almost forgotten the little details about the Hunger Games. So it's like I honestly wouldn't mind continuing to. Yes, same. So it's like it wouldn't like, but there's like little details like Peeta losing his leg and having a prosthetic leg, like those kind of details, like that the movies just conveniently left out. Somebody else mentioned the movie left out the person jumping off of the platform early in the first games and exploding. They left that all out.
Oh yeah, I remember.
There's like several things that like I've just forgot that happened in the book that my brain's just kind of stored away in that old dusty file in the back of the filing cabinet that I've just forgot about. And it's like I'd be interested to go back and reread them because it's been a hot minute since I've watched the movies too. So it's like I'd be interested to go back and reread them to really soak in the details. But all right, I'm rambling again. All right, let us know if there's any other kind of juicy drama, or if there's any new books that are like pre-order coming soon that you want to talk about. Let us know. Because I have one more. I have the book 4 in the series that she's reading that comes out in August, I believe. But other than that, I'm out of pre-orders. And granted, the whole goal is to reduce our TBR, and I'm like, I need more pre-orders. So no.
Me, I'm anticipating Quicksilver's book 2 release. I am so stoked for that one, and I think it's coming out.
I still haven't read Quicksilver. That's one of my need to read.
You need to get on that. You need to get on that. It's so good. It's so good. So good. Steven, a guy I like watching on Instagram's reading it, so he's like, hey, Book Brats, and he's doing his like updates, and I live for his Quicksilver updates because he's hilarious as he goes through the story, and I'm like, it's so funny.
I honestly kind of like, so let us know. Before long, we'll be making our February TBR too. That's coming up, like the beginning, like February 1st is next April. Yeah, sorry. I don't know why I said. Why did I say February? April 1st is like next Monday.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We'll have to do an April 1st live stream.
Yeah.
It's all gonna be a joke. None of it's real. I'm just kidding. This is my TBR, and then next week, just kidding. That was a joke. All right.
Gosh. Okay.
Let us know if you have any other bookish topics you want us to cover or talk about or get our opinions on, and what you're reading and all that stuff. So, you know what to do, guys.
All right. Bye.